Hello and welcome to The Real Bottom Line, the podcast where we talk to entrepreneurs about entrepreneurial stuff. Today, my guest is Talmar Anderson. She hails from Georgia, and her company is She is a boss best practice expert. That's a mouthful, Talmar.
I know.
Welcome.
It takes a little minute, right?
I'm so excited to have you here today. We normally talk a little bit about how did you become a business owner? Like, what was
Yeah.
your journey?
Well, it's really interesting. I was the number 2. I was never meant to be a business owner. I would go into companies and quickly get promoted and end up at that number 2 position, whatever it was, administrative manager, firm administrators, right? That second in command, operational general, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I had worked in law firms specifically
Mm.
for most of my career, and and the word, you're very entrepreneurial in the way you think, and I didn't understand that that's what I thought. I just couldn't imagine going into a job and not running it like I would want to run it. Which is fortunately oftentimes aligned with the boss. I had
Yeah.
a couple of conflicts along the way, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something I thought about. My husband was actually a business owner almost his entire life. He's only had a couple of jobs in his world where he had a boss or something like that. And so I knew what business ownership, the good and the bad, and I knew the stress of it and the excitement of it, but I just never thought I was going to be there. And so, like a lot of people, my catalyst was family, right?
Oh,
We were living outside of Washington, D.C. at the time. I was managing the largest privately held law firm in Virginia, and it was a 45-minute or more commute every day. And we had known that. We'd made the decision, and our son was about 1.5 or 2. And I have a photo of it, but he kind of went waddling into the bedroom and got into bed to snuggle with daddy because mom was already at work, and he was sleeping with a photograph of me.
oh,
Yeah, and then my husband, God love him, probably wishes he never did it, took a picture to show me. He's like, "Oh, look, he misses you, honey." And I was like, "Oh, no, that's not that right kind of miss. No." So, a plan started to form. It was time for me to go out on my own, so I had autonomy of time and
mm,
freedom of being where I wanted to be, when I wanted to be, and thus it began.
thus it began. Have you always done the same work that you do now, or
No, absolutely not.
has it morphed and shifted? Like, what did you start out with, and what do you do now?
Well, I started off at a roller skating rink. I don't think that's how far back we want to go. But, I think that I've always been administratively, operationally minded.
Mm.
But, one of my first forays really to shift into that kind of business side of business role, it was, I worked for Court Furniture Rental, a large company still in existence, and, they had a new line of furniture they had, and so I was brought in to facilitate that, and we grew that, and it was starting to be a regional success. And so I was getting some attention, and then locally they needed an administrative manager. And I had decided at the time to go back for my degree. I didn't have my degree straight out of college. I ran out of money, went straight to work after a couple of years. So I was going back to finish, and the district general manager, Brad, best boss I ever had, was like, "Hey, let's have a conversation." And he had to fight for me because I was not coming from that world, but he had seen what I had done with this position and this product, and he was like, "We got to do this." So that was furniture rental, design, spatial stuff, right? And then but then I started getting into administrative is accounting, and you're starting to learn how to be a boss, and oh, the mistakes, you all trust me, we'll talk about that. But and then learning just the operational process and stuff. But there was an innateness for me, right?
Mhm.
My brain has always been, I can see the problem macro and break it down into steps so that people can understand how to do what in what order. So that's kind
That is a unique skill set. In the Myers-Briggs world, that's ENTJs,
of, yes,
general, because I'm a general, and you see the end, but you can also see every little step that happens along the way.
yeah.
And we sometimes take it for granted, Talmar, because it's so, like you said, innate.
Yeah, and I wasn't the one that learned that about myself. Again, this fabulous boss was the one that was like, "I don't think you see that what you think you like, I don't think you know what you're doing is so unique." And I was like, "Unique? Just, running a business, organizing things, making things happen." And he's like, "No, no, no, but the way you can," and he was very the one that really articulated it in a way that made me understand that idea of seeing the big picture and breaking it down into process is not just something everybody can do. And I think that's true of all innate, super skills, strengths,
Hmm.
genes, whatever we want to call that. Somebody has to point out to you that it's exceptional because it does flow more easily for you than for others. We
Yeah,
take advantage of it, to your point.
that's awesome. So you alluded to mistakes along the
Oh,
way.
girl.
So, and I actually think there are opportunities to learn stuff
Agreed. Agreed. Yes.
else. So, tell me what you've learned on your entrepreneurial journey. Like
Whew.
top two.
Well, marketing, what I've learned about marketing is that more importantly, being an industry, now they call them disruptors, but when I started the business in 2017, 2018, they didn't have a word for that. And being a disruptor in any industry, creating a new product or way of thinking or moving through something, it's such an extra struggle to selling, hiring, operational success, understanding how to build products and deliver services and all that stuff. So for me, I wish that I could have had somebody help me, like shake me and go, "Girl, if you're going to do this, let's really get clear on the messaging. And do you understand? You first have to teach people that they can learn a process to hiring and management. Right now, they don't believe that's even a thing they can learn. They think they have to struggle. And so getting our marketing to get past that education piece to now go, okay, now that you know you could, are you interested in working with us to learn that? And
Yeah.
so that was probably the bumpiest part for us. There's been lots of bumps, but that's definitely one I wish that I could have. A disruptor has a different type of messaging we've got to find that goes in addition to, oh yeah, buy our stuff or let us help you, however you want to serve, position that.
And I'm not sure, even in your disruptor, that that message can be clear right at the beginning anyway,
It's
right?
not. There's no chance.
You have to work through it a few times,
Yeah.
help a few people, and then you go, oh, this is what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't know, again, I didn't know I was a disruptor. I just thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe people aren't learning this. And yes, it was through identifying that there was no solution that was easy for business owners that I wanted to go there. But I definitely did not know what I was biting off by that concept. I was like, I'll go build that thing. But then we learned, to your point, how we serve and how we show up is so it's vastly more enhanced, right? We couldn't be so singular as the hiring process. We had to include management process, and then we had to include mindset, right? And it took us years of delivering the services and talking with our clients and the experience of developing it. So you, to your point, the message we have today could have never been there. So it's an excellent awareness.
Yeah. And I think too that I think along the way, a lot of the times we have to try stuff.
Yeah.
Like I think that having this mentality that things have to be perfect the first time.
Mhm.
I think of Seth Godin, and he goes, if you're not embarrassed by what you shipped or delivered the first time that you did it, then you shipped too late.
That's an excellent point. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfection's not been my thing, and I think, and thank you, clients and team, for forgiving me for my non-perfections. But I do. My biggest challenge as an entrepreneur is I am a quick start to the nth degree, and that creates unnecessary pressure for myself. And as I started building and developing my team, finding a way to make myself okay with the fact that quick start means delivering in 30 days as opposed to delivering yesterday. Apparently, that's not real. But I think I was able to recognize
Yeah.
it without losing team. And I don't know that everybody else has that opportunity. I recognize that my stress was created by my deadlines and they were unrealistic and ridiculous. Literally, no one needed it as fast as I wanted it done. So for us, and for me particularly in growing, quick start was my biggest angst to learn to get past.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting. I was in a coaching program that started using Colby, which measures quick start,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
Well, my quick start, I think, is a 7 or 8. So it's pretty low high, right?
Yeah.
But what was interesting is that when they started working with Colby and they started putting all these entrepreneurs through the course, through the assessment, they started skewing the Colby results
Of course.
because all these entrepreneurs were high quick starts. And
Yes.
like, okay. So, but brings me to my point, which I think will translate into some of your technical expertise is building team doesn't
Mm.
mean building, getting people exactly like you.
Oh, no. Well, yes and no. So,
Okay, let's
you
hear
know,
this.
I'm
Go,
like, since
go
you
there.
asked, I actually, the company Boss HQ that we have, where we deliver hiring strategy and boss best practices, and I think that actually we don't put enough emphasis on building a team that works the way you like to work. And so
Okay,
I
perfect.
don't want another Talmar. Lord knows the universe does not need more of this. God to help you all with the one that you've got, right? But what I do need, every single one of my hires, I have to vet for people that can absorb information quickly.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, on this podcast, this is about as slow as I can speak. I am slow down. So when I'm really excited and working with my team and giving them instruction and direction and helping them, I want to go fast because I like to go fast because that enthusiasm and high energy is my joy factor. So
Mm,
if I know that that's how I like to work, it's unfair to hire people that need to write it down, have 4 days to consider it, want to come back and then have a discussion about it and then make a plan for another week later. It's going to make me frustrated. It's going to make them frustrated. So we do believe that you have to align with you as a boss, but
yeah.
we also have to consider the alignment for other ways. You as the boss, the position, of course, culture, which corporations talk about, but is not the only thing. And then the fourth thing we really believe at Boss HQ is that you have to align with the client with every hire. And so we have a whole process for that.
I love that. And honestly, like when you say all that, what is interesting to me is that for that person that wants to write it down, consider come back, there is there are roles in organizations where that is the perfect fit.
And there's bosses that love it.
They
There are
love it.
bosses that wanna get in a room and
Yes,
collaborate and think about it
yeah,
and be very methodical and thought out, right?
yeah.
But that's
And
not
the
this
person
boss.
will be super happy there and frustrated as all get out working with Talmar.
Exactly, exactly, right? And I'll be frustrated, and then I'm like, "What?" This person that they're great, but they just want a lot, and so there's just a way to be very thoughtful and intentional in defining what a successful hire is, and then
Mhm.
how you approach vetting it, and that's just what we're about.
One of the things that I work a lot on is helping business owners figure out number one, the value of their business and what the value could be of their business. And is that going to be part of their overall asset accumulation strategies? And are they planning for retirement or selling
Oh,
the business? All
yeah.
those things.
All the good stuff, planning those
Yeah,
personal goals with your business goals. You gotta get
absolutely.
them aligned. Yep.
One of the biggest things that can, I think, reduce the value of a company is when the
Mhm.
boss is in everything.
Yes.
And that company can't work without them. And so I suspect, and I'd love to hear, how do you help bosses stop that?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's 2 phases to that, right? The first phase, when we're going from business owner to boss, before working with you and before the big plan of the exit strategy, they're learning to hire the people that will build success with them. Anyone they hire is going to be influential to their success, either good or bad. So let's be really mindful about that. And so in that case, they call that your dream team. These are the people that can come in and do the functions that support what your business needs, and you can, as the boss, you can start to slowly pull out some of those things, learning to delegate, and then you step into management. How do I manage these people? But the phase that you're talking about, which is really critical, is when we call that moving from boss to CEO, is
Yeah,
when we're building your freedom team. And
yeah,
for us, your freedom team are your second in commands, your management, or your leadership team. And the reason we very specifically want them to see that that's a different, I'm telling you, everybody, listen up. It's a different hire. Your leadership, they've got to innately and consistently be about the business's growth, not about the personalities. And so that whole shifting and finding and hiring a second in command that's going to walk your talk and be able to keep the business running wherever you are. And even whether you're ready to sell or whether you're getting ready to open a second location, we need to build it, to your point, so that it can run without you. And that's not just writing the procedures down. That can actually be filled in as you grow the team, because you can let them help you write it down, people. But understanding who's going to be able to walk the talk and run this company without you exponentially increases the value, because now they believe that this is something that somebody else can do. If you can hire a manager that can do this, and it's not just you, the genius behind the invention, everybody buying, what Wendy wants, or what Wendy does, or what Talmar does. If I have a manager doing it, now we know it's repeatable, it's sustainable, and to your point, exponentially valuable.
Absolutely. And I love how you've characterized that, because one of the things too is when people want to buy a business, some people, most of them, don't want to buy a job.
Nope, they're not interested in being in there.
No. But I absolutely love the idea of start with your dream team, work to your freedom team.
Yes.
Can your dream team morph into your freedom team, or are they two separate changes that happen at different stages of growth?
I would love to say that the majority of people that start with you are going to stay with you. But the truth of the matter is, the team that's there when you're building, when you're in that dream team phase, these people are highly adaptable. They actually like the thrill of the change and unknown and the unexpected. So
Oh,
as we start to grow and structure and have a redundancy, you have to do the same thing every day. Oftentimes, the employees that want to show up and do the same thing every day, they might not be. So it's not usual to bring the whole team along with you. Having said that, there are times when a business is starting to create real revenues, right? I usually say 5 million is the marker, but honestly, it's at about 2 to 3 million in revenues that we can start to afford the resources to create promotion, succession, and training programs.
yeah.
Because one of the biggest mistakes small business owners make is they hire for potential. That's not what your business needs. We don't even know what's happening in 2 years. You need to hire the people that can do the job now. And so as we grow, is it possible somebody grew? Maybe, but oftentimes the person you really need is not ready yet. It's just small business until we can grow big enough to have a training program and somebody that can dedicate time and energy to making sure that somebody learns management skills, somebody learns how to hire, somebody learns how to do the expert level troubleshooting.
Yeah.
It's not just money and titles. We need skill sets and experiences that will allow us to continue on this growth trajectory or to scale.
I have fallen into that trap for sure, Telmar. And
Sorry.
I think sometimes it's because, yes, I'm hiring for potential. I'm also guilty of sometimes wanting to save money. And I think what I realized over the long term is it would be way better to bring someone in that has the toolkit already built, because otherwise it's going to take all my time to help build the toolkit.
Yes. Yes.
That's not a good use of my time. I'd rather have someone now come in fully equipped and actually
Yes.
goes, I've done this 5 million times more than you have. Here's how I would do it.
Well, yes, and so the key here is we say stop hiring for potential, because the truth of the matter is, right, if I'm bringing in, say, a salesperson, I need a person who's sold to my types of clients, not exactly necessarily, but my types of clients, and has a sales process if it's my first time hiring, because
Right.
honestly, I'm still developing it. So I do want someone who's like, in the past, what I usually did is, this is my follow-up process and this is how I find cold leads, or that we can have conversation about it and they can help inform my decisions. We never want to let them run it. But at the end of the day, if we're not careful about exactly the kind of person that is going to be successful at the job, and we think, oh, I like them so much. That Wendy, she's the bee's knees. We're going to have so much fun working together. I believe she reminds me of me when I was coming up, and I believe I can teach her anything. And besides, I'm just giving back to the community by helping her build a career. But the issue is, it's going to take at least 6, 9, 18 months for them to actually truly learn everything you need them to learn. And there's no promise they have the capacity. as a
or
small
that they will stay once they get it.
well, that's the second piece of it, right? The first one is, can they even learn it and will they
Yeah.
be successful at it? We need people that we can look back on their history and give us a reasonable expectation of success. But this, to your point, and this is the part, I'm sorry, business owners out there, the truth of the matter of our society right now, a great tenure, which is how long somebody stays with you, a great tenure is 18 to 36 months.
Oh, stab me in my
I know.
heart.
So the likelihood that we can invest in gold watches for people to retire with us is not high, but that's okay. If we know that, then let's get the best possible person that is up and running 80 to 100% within 60 days, or let them go and find somebody else. We've got to move a little faster in our assessment of if this is the right hire, because that's where it saves us the money, which was what you were originally talking about, right? When we
Yeah.
hire for potential and let's talk about the investment hiring of people you have to teach. Now I'm going to pay two people to teach one person a career that has nothing to do with what I want them to do. So now I'm somebody, whether it's me, usually it is the business owner, or somebody that's high level enough to understand it, is going to stop doing their job. It's
Yeah.
such an expensive misstep. It's well intentioned, but it's not going to get our small business where we are and profitable enough to be able to invest back in our communities in all kinds of ways.
Okay. You talked a little bit about mindset, and I strongly believe in mindset. And I have a theory
Ooh,
that
yeah.
all the business owners who have been hired, done stuff, we're all carrying emotional baggage
Oh, for sure.
around that experience, which
Yes.
sometimes actually halts us, pauses us, makes us worried about growing, or, I'm going to it's just going to make more work for me.
Oh,
How do
girl.
you talk to a business owner like that?
Well, I would say that's all of our clients, right? They really, what you fabulous business owners need to understand is, no, you don't have to be mean to hold people accountable. No, it's not unreasonable to expect that people do the job that you paid them to do. And it's totally okay to look someone in the eye and say, here's my issue. I've explained what success looks like, given you all the resources, and yet you're missing a deadline and you haven't come to me, asked for anything more. You're literally just choosing to not deliver. So it's walking them through the idea of understanding this employee is, whether subconscious or consciously, making decisions to not show up for the success that we know we need for our business. So as the boss, it's our job to have the communication with them that says, you're not meeting the expectations. You're a fabulous person, but you need to go be fabulous somewhere else because I need these expectations met. And so it's really about separating them. And you're right, everybody has different, sometimes it's cultural, like family, sometimes it's money issues, but a lot of it is just comfort in telling someone when you're unhappy and they're not doing the job well.
Hmm. The word you brought up that I think is so key here too is you talked about what success looks like and delegation. And I
Mhm.
think that um, as entrepreneurs, we believe we are fabulous communicators
Of
all
course.
the time, but that may not be the truth. Because I mean, I think sometimes what we think we said and what actually came out or what they heard can be different. What are your top delegation tips?
Oh, well, I think that the first thing is, and you don't laugh because I know you all are going to roll your eyes, but you're also going to self identify, is we have to give deadlines that are specific, my friends.
Ooh,
I
tell
don't,
me.
so I would challenge everyone listening, all of your listeners, to think about the last four assignments they gave to somebody and how many of them have a very specific date and time that you expect them to return product or solution or have another meeting. And is there a date? Is there a time? Or is it a general, hey, can you get to this? Or this is really important, or even just add this to your list, right? It's in the waiting. As soon as you hand off and delegate that to somebody, you're already like, I need it, I need it, I need it. But the person that received the instruction to do it, just add it to the list, is like, okay, I'm going to put it in the list right about here, but I'm going to finish these two things first. And this one took longer than I thought. And you're like, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And then the person who was delegated to is actually like, I think I'll start it tomorrow. It's the end of the day right now. And so we just haven't communicated very successfully what it is we need. And to by setting clear deadlines and time frames that you can ask to for follow up, right? That's
Yeah.
how we'll know they're successful or they'll fail. But more importantly, that's how they'll know that they're successful or they failed.
How can you, along the journey, like when someone first comes in, you the level of trust that you need isn't going to be there. But how can you build, are there distinct actions you can take along the employment journey to give yourself more trust within that individual? Like, what can we do?
Oh, this is the absolute best question, Wendy. You're so right on the money because the truth is that's what we're trying to do. How can I trust this person? And to your question, it's about how do we build trust for them to have in us enough for us to have good conversations. And you're the boss, so you're
Yeah.
the grown up, you're the person that has to lead by example. And there's two great ways to start to get that trust built in them so that they will later come to you. And the first one is your onboarding process. Is you invited them, you expected them, you should have things ready for them when they're starting. They should be excited. That first day, they're going to decide if they're looking for a job in 6 months or if this is going to be so much fun. They hope it lasts forever. Again, it's not going to last for everybody. Don't get excited. But if that's the case, then we've got somebody that understands and create that onboarding process over 6 weeks. It includes different things like more regular check-ins, but on a consistent basis, the best thing every boss can do, please everybody, have one-to-ones with your team members consistently, regularly, scheduled, and understand that your team meetings must come before new clients, new opportunities, because if they can't do the job, if they don't have the opportunity to get access to you, your business will suffer. And it doesn't matter. You're just going to end up making yourself busier. So having these one-on-ones, which are not about assignment of new work or case study, one-on-ones are actually checking in and communicating with the employee about how they think things are going for them in this business. And it really facilitates a consistent way to be there and give them access to a place where they get to admit what's hard or challenging for them.
Yeah, I like calling those strategy meetings. I kind of stopped calling it employee reviews. I
Yeah,
started
not
calling it
use.
strategy sessions because reviews always feel very judgy.
Yeah, well, they are, and and they're required. I mean, you need reviews. Let's be clear,
Yeah.
especially where performance is not great or even exceptional. I think that reviews should happen on the good and the bad as frequently as those things occur. But and strategy session is great as long as it's about the questions the boss asks. It's about, am I asking them what are they most proud of? Am I asking them what's been the most challenging? Am I putting in front of them the right questions to look for patterns of issues they might have or successes that they're having? By being consistent and being in front of them and talking through the things that they feel are challenging for them, you one, identify how to support them better, and two, start to build that relationship and trust so later on they'll use your open door policy.
Sweet. Telmar, this has been a fascinating discussion about all of that. How can people reach out and get a hold of you?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for asking. We're at Boss HQ. I'm sorry, that's not true at all. We're at yourbosshq.com. And I'm on LinkedIn. And of course, if you want to learn more, go to Zoom with Talmar, TALMAR.com. And you'll have opportunities to make meetings and find resources and all kinds of good stuff.
That's amazing, Telmar. And I think the real bottom line here today is the dream team that you start out with may not be the freedom team you end up with. Thank you so much, Telmar, for your time today.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Wendy, for the opportunity to be here with you all. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.